So again, race management here tonight. So I've shared my screen. Remember yesterday we created an event for Friday. So that's the event that we'll use, basically all we do and everything. So we'll pretend today is Friday, and we'll basically just start going through the process here. There's a couple of things that have been added in race management. Most of them very exceedingly minor things, but I at least want to point them out to you as we go through this. I'm going to do everything with one class here. I'm going to run a demo event with one class. You obviously can have as many as you want here. So just, bear in mind some of these things you might have to do multiple times as I go through it just one time. But I'll start with a setup tab. And this is actually an area where something new has been added, but it is an exceptionally minor thing. So I'll point that out when we get there. Setup tab, though, for the most part, as you all are aware, how to handle pill draw options, how to handle transponder options is the primary thing here. You can read, so I won't explain to you every single one of these things, but at check-in, auto draw before or after you find the driver, at check-in manual entry, after check-in manual entry, all pretty self-explanatory things. I'm going to leave it at the default at check-in auto draw because it makes it a one-step process for me to find a driver and give them a pill number at the same time. Max pill and rebase number are below that. Max pill is what it sounds like, right? This is the range from 1 to whatever you type in here of what your pill draw numbers are going to be. Maybe you've got 50 pills, maybe you've got 100, do whatever you want there. Rebase pill, it gets used at WISSOTA 100, or at least I know it did for a while. I wasn't there last year, so maybe that changed.
Nope,
Perfect. Rebase pill is the resetting of what your one pill is, right? So drivers complain, I always draw a high number, whatever. The way I see this get used the most is everybody comes in and draws, and then at driver's meeting, pull a poker chip with a number on it, and that number becomes the new 1. So if I draw a 52 replaces the 1 in your draw list. So it goes 52 to 100 and then 1 to 51. So it's a way to continue to randomize the already randomized pill draw list. Transponder options, again, pretty self-explanatory. No transponders, allow rentals, or no rentals. Race options is one of the things that is new that was just added here. Golly, I think in the fall, if I remember correctly. But it's allowing you to set a default number of competitors per row. In the races tab, you can do that on a per race basis, but this race options will allow you to set a default. So where does this come into play? Mostly in road racing stuff, to be honest with you, but a lot of folks will do like spectator drags. If that's something that you do at your track, where everything's always going to line up single file for that class, you never want them side by side. You can have a default number of cars per row in race options. And then the other thing that's in here that is a partner plan only feature is the required registration. This works like a license or membership check on a per network basis. But if you're going to require your drivers to register, I've got a lot of registrations out there. You basically just select the registrations that you want to use. And then from there, you'd be able to, at the end of the night when calculating points or payouts, only apply points or payouts, typically it's just points, to drivers that have completed that registration, right? So comes up more for a series than it does for individual tracks. We do this a lot with different series. They require annual registration to become a member, quote unquote, of that series. When it's time for points, they only pay out points to people that have filled in the membership or paid that membership. So that can be pretty valuable there as well. If you got questions about that, definitely let us know. We haven't had a ton of usage of that for individual racetracks, but again, a number of series out there do that. And if that's something that you require or want to employ, definitely let us know. But, other than that, setup tab, pretty simple stuff. Move to entries here next. Entries, again, very simple stuff here. This is backgate, checking drivers in at the entry screen where they come in and they want to, they're going to be part of the event, right? So first off, I'll show you there's a toggle at the top of the screen to toggle between classes. Again, I'm doing everything in one class. You could move between multiple here. But there's really 3 ways to find a driver. First is the search at the top of the screen. And this is what it sounds like, right? It's a string of text. I hit search. I type in name, search results appear based off of what I've typed. Couple of things with these search results that I really want to emphasize. One, every driver who's ever raced at any track that uses My Race Pass will already have a driver profile. Any driver who has registered at any track that uses My Race Pass or with any sanctioning body, so if they've already got their WISSOTA license, they will already have a My Race Pass profile, a driver profile. So there is a create new option, but that should be pretty rarely used, to be honest with you. So, keep that in mind.
If you can't find him and you're looking up Bob Johnson, be sure you ask him how, if it's with WISSOTA, ask him how he registered. I might have him as Robert, Bob, Don, Donald. There's so many different ways that people, but I just had a guy, Steve Berg, that emailed me and he wants his name on MRP changed to Corky Berg. Now, if you know him as Steve and he's in my system as Corky, you're not going to find him. If you make a new one, a new profile, and he already has one, you make Don and I have him as Donald, it's going to show you that he's not licensed. He's going to say he is. It's also going to give him 2 sets of national points. One that is the correct name and one is what you put in. Every single year we have to go through and fix our duplicates. It starts with you guys. You guys need to make absolutely sure if he says he's ever raced before, ask him that question. If he says yes, then say, okay, you are in here. What does your name usually look like when you do this? So I just want to make sure we know that.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, if you run across and you're searching and you run across 2 people that 2 profiles that are obviously the same person, email that to me so I can merge them together, please. We had that last year with Sprint Car Guys. There was like 14 Gage Polkrebeck profiles because no one can spell Polkrebeck correctly. I still can't. And yeah, so if you find profiles that are obviously the same person, merge them together. So that's way number 1 to find a driver, the search. Way number 2 to find a driver is the competitors list on the left-hand side of the screen. This is a list of drivers who have raced with you before in that class or who have registered with you before in that class. So this is a good way to avoid duplicates. Because, everybody who's run with you before in that class will show up by default on the left-hand tray for the competitors list. If you're running an event where you've got an event-specific registration, you can flip the competitors list to say pre-entries, and now this will show, for me, it's empty because I don't have a registration for this event, but this will show you a list of drivers who registered for your event to make it a little easier to find those people. So competitors list, everyone who's raced with you before or registered with you at all, pre-entries, and event-specific registration tied to that event. So that's the second way to find a driver. And oh, by the way, you can filter that list by car number. So type in car number, filtered it for you that way. So third way to find a driver is the scan barcode option up here. Scan barcode. So if you get a barcode scanner, and we've got a recommended one that we've got on our help center, and I can send that link out at some point. But if you get a barcode scanner, there are 2 ways to find a driver barcode. One, WISSOTA with the license still sends out a hard card to everybody, right? So everybody gets a hard card. It's got a barcode on the back, says My Race Pass on the front. I'm sure you've seen them. I would show you, but I don't have my wallet down here because that was short-sighted of me. But My Race Pass on the front, barcode on the back, scan that barcode. Second way to find that barcode is in the app. If driver claims profile, driver goes into the app, their barcode will actually be listed in the app for them. If you go to the menu of the app, pretty simple to be able to find it. Go to the menu of the app, scroll to the bottom, driver barcode will be in there. So you can scan it out of their hard card or out of the app, either way. That also really helps prevent the creation of duplicates because, now that scan obviously is tied to their profile. So those are the 3 ways to find a driver. Competitors list, barcode, or search. So regardless of how you find the driver, this is the screen that comes up. And that's not the right profile. That's my son's go-kart profile. We don't want to do that. There we go. There's the fake one for me. Will the competitor list change the name in your list? Yeah, so driver profile at its core is really just name and hometown. And that's the foundational piece of data there. We then tie race results to it. So if driver profile submits a name change, or you submit a name change for a driver and that name changes, it'll also change on the left-hand list on the side. Yes. If that answers your question there, Linda. But this is the screen that...
If you ever find, if there's ever anybody in your list that has a bunch of X's in front of it, do not pick it, because we are in the middle of merging a duplicate. If there's ever X's, that's how MRP knows what's going on. So if there's any ever X's in front of a name, do not pick it.
Yes. That also allowed me time to find the app on my phone so I can show you at the bottom of that list where the MRP card lives out of the, I only have, Matthews in here, but there's the barcode to scan it that way. So there we go. But yes, so this is the screen that comes up. There's really 4 things that we need to put a driver into an entry list. There's other things in here, but there's really only 4 pieces of information that we need. First, the pill draw number is what it sounds like. I have it set to auto draw, so it auto drew me a 20. So there we go. There's my auto draw number. Second thing's car number on the door. The program will not allow duplicate car numbers per class. So if I'm entered as 23 and somebody else shows up and says they're number 23, you'd have to put like an X or an initial or something like that behind it. Even though I, as an announcer with bad eyes, think this should be illegal, it does accept special characters. So if 1 star shows up or $5 sign shows up, you can do that. So pill draw, car number. Third thing in here is car owner. There's really 2 circumstances in which car owner will matter for you, will become relevant. One, if you do owner points. Owner points is pretty rare to do anymore, but if you are doing owner points, every driver has to have an owner listed, even if it's like the way I do it, where driver name Austin Lloyd, car owner Austin Lloyd Racing. That allows me to have owner points. If you don't put an owner in here, they won't have owner points, which again, that's pretty rare. Second way owner comes up is if you're if someone other than the driver is getting paid, right? So if Donnie Schott shows up, Tony Stewart Racing will become, car owner here. Someone other than the driver getting paid. If you have a driver with their own LLC, like Jesse Sobbing shows up, you have to put Team Crazy Racing in here as owner because you pay their LLC and not them. So I always kind of word it as, hey, is the check get written to you, or do we have to write the check to somebody else or something else? That's a good way for them to be able to answer that question.
Can you show them how to do that with the new people that I have on? Like, say it wasn't, you wanted to change this?
Yeah. So if I didn't have an owner listed here, right? I can click the search over to the right, and it will bring up a list of all owners that driver has ever had, regardless of network. So anywhere they've ever raced, all the owners that they've ever had will appear here when you hit the search. If what you're looking for is not there, you can click over to all owners, where you can search through our entire database of owners, right? Best Performance Motorsports. There we go. They're in there. All that kind of stuff is there, right? If Brad Sweet shows up, type in Casey Kane Racing. There we go. Type in my own name.
Show them also how to find a WISSOTA class.
A WISSOTA class?
Yeah, like if you're going to put a new one in, you pick the driver or you pick the owner, then you have to add a car.
Right. So if you've got, like right here for the previous owners that I've got just generic street stocks or economy midgets listed as cars that I've had before. If you're going to add a new one, so you can either add a team over to the right, or I'm just going to pick my own team here. And I'm going to, if you wanted to say, all right, this is actually for a WISSOTA late model, I can add car, type of racing, late models, class, WISSOTA late model, car number 23, and add car. And now when I go through to pick my list of owners, I see number 23 WISSOTA late model as a car that Austin Lloyd Racing, the owner, has in the program. So now anybody who ever searches Austin Lloyd Racing ever again will be able to pick from car number 23 owner profile.
Every WISSOTA class is in there. Make sure if you're doing it for an owner, you're picking the WISSOTA class, because you'll see street stock, but you'll want to find the WISSOTA street stock.
Yeah. So just like adding classes to an event, works the same way. So there we go. 3 things: PIL number, car number, owner information. This is also a really good indicator as to why you should have people register in advance, because they'll send you owner information on that registration form. So you can put that in days, months, weeks, whatever before race night, not have to worry about it at the back gate. Third or fourth thing in here, last, go ahead.
Default.
Yeah.
If they set it as default or not.
Yep. So transponder number, owner information, and car number all have a default checkbox. So you know if it's going to be the same one every night, you can mark it as default. Also observe the payout goes to owner box. Last thing in here is transponder number. Is what it sounds like, right? Number on the transponder. If it's their own, mark as default. If they're renting from you, check the transponder rented box. You can run the transponder report at the end of the night that shows you everybody who rented a transponder from you. And those are really the 4 things that we need, right? PIL, car number, owner, if it applies, and transponder number. Other things that are here. Alternate payee is one. This is a really, really specific circumstance for 3 networks that actually use this. But if there's a driver and an owner for owner points purposes, but there's actually another third party that's getting paid. So if there's 3 separate entities, then you can put the person who's getting paid as the alternate payee. Again, very rarely used feature. Confirm memberships over here on the left will show you if that driver's registered or not. Either for, right now I've got this annual registration here, your favorite track 2025 registration, or if it's an event-specific race, the event license will be there too. And then lineup override is really the last thing of note to show you in this. Lineup override will push that driver to the back for heats or for all races. So if you have a rookie driver or somebody shaking down a new car or something like that, you can use lineup override to push them to the back. Basically ignore their PIL number, make them start in the back. So I'll turn that on for heats.
The only other one that was for WISSOTA you'll want to look at is that competitor information on the left there, the entrant age. If you have somebody that's racing 15 or younger, if you don't know and he comes in and he registers and something happens and you look over and he's 15, you can make him start in the back. There's all kinds of, he has a restricted license then. You have to make sure that he's okay to race. If for some reason he got around you, because that does happen, or you can make those younger ones with a restricted license starting back.
Yeah, absolutely. There is one other thing that I'll show you. It's I'm going to use a Ogilvy profile because that's a WISSOTA sanctioned event. Actually, it's not been sanctioned yet. Callie, I suppose you haven't sanctioned any events yet, have you?
I have not.
Okay. Let me go back in time then at Ogilvy, and let's do this a different way. Let me go back to 24. Here, I thought I was going to show this really easy and fast thing.
Sorry, I could have went in and did that today.
No, that's okay. That's all right. That's my fault for not being prepared, to be honest with you. And then, of course, I choose an event that wasn't a WISSOTA sanctioned event. There we go. Okay, so now if you've got a WISSOTA sanctioned class, I'll generate a PIL number for myself. And you've got a WISSOTA sanctioned class, and driver is entering that does not have a license. I just want to show you what you're going to see here. Yeah, still not doing it. What am I doing wrong here? I don't know. There's going to be a license check, though, where it's going to tell you that driver doesn't have a license. It'll show up in red at the top of the screen. And it'll also, if they don't have a license, there will be another category down here to either allow them to compete with a temporary license or to allow them to compete with no license. So you'll have the checkbox options there. If they do not have a license, you'll see that error message there. So that's something to keep in mind.
If you are checking them every single week, but they say, I have a license, and you every single week they come through and you're checking them, there is something wrong. Get a hold of me, email me and say, hey, Joe Johnson, I'm checking him every week. Can you look into it? Does he actually have a license like he tells me? Or do I have him as Big Beef Johnson or something? I don't know, something like that. Because there's something, if you're checking him every week, there is something wrong. Make absolutely sure that you check the correct box. It goes to different reports. If you check the, is it membership bypass, that he has a license, I just don't have him confirmed yet. The minute I confirm him, it'll come off the report. If you by mistake check the temporary license box and he didn't buy a temp or something else, you're going to pay for it because I think you missed him. So make sure you check the right box.
Yep. So go ahead and add, and then I'm just gonna, we're in danger of running out of time here. I'm going to just add 10 cars to my entry list using the speed entry tool, and we'll have ourselves a 10-car fake race to get started. And of course, they don't all have transponder numbers.
Just explain the little blue check box there.
Yep. Yep. So the other thing on this screen to pay attention to is the edit button off to the right of every driver, where you can go to edit the entry information. There's a lot of options here that I have that you won't because I'm logged in as a developer. But if you want to edit the entry information, you've got the ability to do that. Edit car number, edit car owner, car number, transponder, all that kind of stuff. And if you know that the name is spelled wrong or they want to change their name or whatever, and nobody else has gotten to it yet, you can use the edit name city tool to edit either their name or their hometown. So if you know this guy's from Rock Rapids instead of Little Rock, you can edit, type in Rock Rapids, whatever. When you do that, just so you're aware, that will not happen immediately. It goes through an approval process here at My Race Pass, so we can make sure that, you know, driver name is being edited correctly and not to a completely different racer. So if you want to edit name or hometown, go to the edit button off to the right, edit name hometown. Typically on Monday or Sunday night or Monday, that'll end up being changed. So it won't change immediately at the race that you're at. There we go. There are our entries.
Pay owner. Sorry, pay owner. Oh. I can see where the Austin Lloyd, that one's not checked. Either it wasn't checked by default or something.
Yeah. So when you're actually putting in the entry information originally, underneath of the owner, there is a default team or a payout goes to owner checkbox. This happens a lot where they'll check default and then check payout goes to owner. That doesn't actually make payout goes to owner the default. If you have to do it in the reverse order, payout goes to owner and then set as default. It's a quirk of the program, but it kind of is what it is. So yeah, if you don't do it here, if payout goes to owner is not checked here, you have a visual indicator on if the payout goes to the owner or not, or just the driver when they're actually in the entry list. So if you see, oh, wait, payout's not going to the owner, let me just double check that box, save, we're good.
Is that why it doesn't stay there sometimes? You checked it here, but you did it in the wrong order on the other one?
Yeah, that's the closest thing that I have to answer that question. I know it's been reported to us in the past that sometimes the default checkbox for payout goes to owner doesn't stay. I think most likely that's why. It's the only thing I've ever been able to find to reproduce it. I'm not saying it's not broken. I'm just saying I've never been able to see it break. Does that make sense?
Show us again how you, yes, absolutely. Tammy Joe, show me again in what order it's done, because I have a bunch of people that absolutely.
Yeah. So let me find one that doesn't have an owner already. There we go. So if you're adding a new owner, right? Check payout goes to owner first, and then check set as default after that, because the default is that the payout goes to the owner. The default is not just the owner existing. So we have to check payout goes to owner first, and then the default after that. I know that people have told me that it is broken, but I've never been able to reproduce it myself. So I'm not saying that it's not broken, but I'm saying this is the most likely circumstance in which it appears broken, if that makes sense.
Yes, and this is probably the most asked question I get is why isn't this working? Perfect.
Right. So, yep. There we go. So I'm going to move to the races tab next. Races tab, there really aren't any changes here from previous. I somehow have a race in here already. Let me delete that so we can start from scratch. Perfect. So in the races tab is where you're going to start setting your format for the night. So the type of races that you're going to run. You can do two things here. You can copy this from previous. So if you know, like 310, I had 10 entries. I ran 1 feature and 2 heat races. I can copy from that, or I can start from scratch. This is all pretty self-explanatory stuff, right? What type of race are you running? It's a heat. I'll add 1 heat. I'll call it 10 laps. And then I'm going to add an A feature, and I will run that 20 laps. Self-explanatory stuff there. You can add B features here. You can add qualifying or hot laps or dashes or whatever you need to add here. But the meat and potatoes of this screen comes up now once you've added the races. Now I can do a couple of different things. I can rename my race. So if you have to call it a last chance showdown instead of a B feature, or you have to call it time trials instead of qualifying, I can change the name of the race. The best way that I've seen that used is if you're doing some kind of memorial race. Don't just leave it as A feature 1. Type in, Sites memorial feature or something like that. Give it a little extra pop in the app. You can also add race sponsors. So your Bob's Garage Heat 1, your, H&H Mobile Home A feature, all that kind of stuff can exist here as well. But the most important thing on this screen is transfers. There's a per race and a from group option, and I want to explain the difference. If you're transferring per heat race, like I'm taking 5 cars from each heat to the feature, you're going to do per race. If you're grouping them all together and transferring from the grouping of heat races, so like if you're running passing points, I would take the top 16 or 20 or whatever from the group of heat races and transfer those to the A feature. So really from group only ever gets used for passing points. If you're running a passing point show, we're going to choose from group, because now I'm taking all the heat race competitors, putting them in one group, applying points to that group, and transferring them that way. So passing points from group, everything else per race. That includes if you're running a double heat race format. Double heat race formats are almost exclusively passing point formats. Choose from group. And then, transfer top whatever to the A feature. For a new track, this is the most common question that we get on race night. People will go to the A feature, they'll calculate lineups, they'll get a message that says you don't have any cars in this race, and then they'll call me and say, well, I don't have any cars in this race because you didn't set your transfers. Most important thing there. You can also change on a per race basis, drivers per row. If you feel like you need to start 3 wide, that's up to you. That's basically everything here. Move to lineups tab. And there is another change here. And this has to do with the WISSOTA lineup schemes, right? So now I don't have it set in mine yet. When I go to the WISSOTA lineup scheme, there's a new one for WISSOTA Heat. Actually, it might have just replaced the last WISSOTA Heat. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. There's a new one for WISSOTA Heat. It's going to be the new lineup scheme for the year. We are building that. I believe this one is built. I know that there was an issue where we weren't completely and 100% done. I forget if it was the points or the lineups, but we will have a WISSOTA Heat and a WISSOTA feature lineup scheme that is brand new for the rule changes this year. So what that means is that for you, nothing will change, right? You'll still go to your lineup tool. You'll still pick WISSOTA Heats, and it'll automatically do what it's supposed to do. Just know that it is being changed for the new season.
With us changing things, you guys might want to pull out your favorites now, pull out your point average, pull out some of those and pull the new ones in. Can you show them how to do that, Austin?
Yeah. And Ross, if you're here, if you could chime in for the heat race one, did we just replace the old one with the new one, or is there some kind of change like we did to IMCA's a couple years back?
Those favorites, I would say you could probably review your favorites, but a lot of them are going to be able to stay the same as far as the heat race goes. That as far as the points go, those I've automatically updated all the point schemes, so there shouldn't be any change that has to happen there.
Cool. Yeah. So when you're looking at your lineups, you can either go to settings and lineup settings, or when you're calculating lineups, you can use the settings wheel, but that's where you can get to the lineups that you have favorited. So again, if I control F, I find WISSOTA. In the features, there still is WISSOTA opening night and WISSOTA point average. So we'll have to make sure we get that clarified. But for the heat race, it is just the heat race that has already existed, right? We've just replaced one with another. So heat race should be pretty straightforward for you. Feature, we'll have to make sure that we clarify what's what, but you won't have to do anything different for the heat race. You'll just select WISSOTA heat race, boom. And I'm assuming it'll be the same way for the A feature. We just have to continue or finish that build.
Yeah, it'll be the opening night scheme that you saw there. It'll just get that one will just get renamed.
Yeah, yeah, because we're doing everything draw redraw, so it's like opening night. So this will just get renamed. And again, we just have to finish cleaning that up. But that's what you'll pick, basically, just WISSOTA heat when you're here. WISSOTA heat, calculate, boom. Now that that's calculated, you can see. I just want
to let everybody know what happened at the annual meeting. Promoters voted, and we no longer are lining cars up by point average. It is all draw redraw now. Please look in your rule book, like page 19, 20, 21, rules online. You guys need to know the first probably 21, 22 pages of that rule book, forward, backward, upside down, because that's where all your stuff is in the front of that rule book. But no more point average. You can't, in WISSOTA, they actually took it away. It's not even an option. So it's draw, redraw every single night. In the book, it's exactly how it's 4 heats top 2, 3 heats top 3, just like it was, but it's all draw, redraw.
Yep. Cool. So I want to show now getting this information into your timing system. We do that through a program called MRP Live. For many of you, this will be review. For some of you that are new, this is how we get information from My Race Pass into your timing system, how we get results from timing system back to My Race Pass, and how also we get live timing to work in the app. So for the heat race, I will do this in orbits. So for you orbits tracks, pay close attention for the heat race part of this. When we go and calculate our A feature, I'll do that through Westhold. So for you Westhold tracks, pay attention there. But connecting the two is very simple. Out of orbits in the distribution tab, and here orbits will open for me. I hope. Come on, you can do it. There we go. In the distribution tab of orbits, there's a scoreboard feed. In that scoreboard feed, there's an IP address and a port number here. We want to make sure that it's enabled. Make sure this dot is green. If it's not, click on it and go to enable the scoreboard feed so it turns green. There's an IP address and a port number. Type that into the race data. IP address and port number. Pick orbits. Port number is always 50,000. IP address mostly doesn't change on you. So that should be pretty straightforward every week, IP and port. The only thing you'll worry about changing on a week-to-week basis regularly is this connection code. Every event in My Race Pass will generate its own specific and unique connection code. So you can either do what I do and just copy and paste the new code in there. You can also click launch from web. That'll just open MRP Live with the code already built in. But either way, it's all you really have to do to connect the two. The first time you connect, you'll choose an assignments path, which is basically just a folder that you tell My Race Pass to put all the data in. And then when you go to import it into your timing system, you'll just go and browse for that same folder. But after you set it once, you never worry about it again. If you need help with that process, please let us know. But it is pretty straightforward, and there's a wizard that helps you through it. But I'll go ahead and connect. Once I'm connected, all I have to do is press Get Lineups, and that's the trigger to push all the data into orbits. So let me delete the last race I did in orbits. Cool. So I press Get Lineups, and now instead of managing a driver database and creating groups and runs and doing all that here, we're just going to import it, right? I'll import my groups first. That's my class data. So all of the classes that you've got created will show up in here. I only have drivers in one class, so it only imported one. It would import them all for you. Then you import the runs after that. This is the lineup data. It brings over the lineups. I've got one 10-car heat. There's my lineup. We're all set and good to go. Nothing else in orbits will change for you, right? Everything else will stay the same. So I'll run a little fake race here, and we'll go ahead and start through there. So the first thing I want to show you, there's another tool up in the tools drop down. There's a lineup monitor. This screen will show you the lineups that you've got for the night. Auto refreshes every few seconds. So if you've got, internet, you can put a TV somewhere and you can have that post lineups all night long in your pits if you want to do that. So if you're paying somebody to write on a whiteboard all of your lineups, don't do that anymore. And then the other tool that I want to show you is in this MRP Live dropdown. It's the lap viewer. I always recommend to put this in front of your announcer. It's just the timing views, but in desktop form. So I can see running order. I can see best lap. I can see positions gained, the plus minus. I can see average lap time, including the average over the last 3 laps. I can see lap leaders. So give your announcer more information. Make them sound smarter on your broadcasts with the timing data. The only other thing in the MRP Live tab that I want to show you, it's a brand new feature. It's announcer audio. We're really excited about it. You can add your announcer audio through here. In terms of the initial setup, it's a heck of a lot easier if we work with you individually. Everybody's tower is a little bit different. So to get it set up, get a hold of us, please. But in effect, you can add an audio stream and you can start running your announcer audio directly into the My Race Pass app. I don't have a mic connected, so it's going to not do anything for me. But this is all you would do is just connect the stream, click the link, and then you're basically off and running from there. You can geo-fence this, meaning that I can have it only be observed within a set number of miles. You can also black it out, so you can only have it observed outside of a set number of miles, whatever you want to do. Check the box that says we're not responsible for content. Basically, if your announcer swears, it's not our fault. And connect, and there we go. So it's very simple to connect. Again, I don't have a microphone set up, so I can't show you the full setup, but it's pretty slick. Works pretty well. So we've run ourselves a fake race. And actually, we already got through the laps that I had set. So checkered flag and stop. There we go. And once that's checkered flagged and stopped, then what we can do is come back to the results tab of My Race Pass, and I can just import my last pending race, right? 410 win sprints, heat 1, click the link for the import, mark your DNF, DNS, DQ, or black flag, save as completed. We're all set there. Heat race is done, and we're just going to do the same thing again here for the features, right? So when I calculate lineups, it still says, obviously, WISSOTA opening night. That will change to say something else before we get to the season. But I'll go ahead and calculate. Does the same thing. Your auto redraw is already built in, right? So it tells you how many cars are going to redraw automatically. I'll auto redraw them. You can also type a number in here if they're drawn on the front stretch. But I'll go ahead and save. And there's my lineup for my feature. Now I need to do this all over again, but in Westhold, so you Westhold users can see how that works. So let me open up Race Manager, and if you use Race Manager for timing, this is how you can get the data from My Race Pass into Race Manager. And of course, I have a ton of data in Race Manager, so let me delete that, and we can get started. So same thing, right? MRP Live, same application, same process. Lives between My Race Pass and Race Manager. And let me, like I said, delete the last event that I did that has a ton of data because that was not prepared in advance. This is a life lesson for everybody. Prepare in advance. In Race Manager, the data comes from the Setup tab. So instead of distribution, there's Setup. You're looking for the same pieces of data. It's an IP address and a port number. Port number is always 50,000. That pretty much never changes. IP address will be listed in there as well. And as soon as I finish that, there we go. Perfect. So there's race manager. There's the setup tab. Again, port number 50,000. IP address comes from above that. So type the IP address in, type in the port number, make sure you select race manager this time, and then we'll connect. From there, it's the same process, right? I've got lineups created. I'll press get lineups, and then I'll come to the assign tab of race manager. What's different in Orbitz and Race Manager is there's no going to find the data. It's just there automatically for you in the assign tab. If you've imported and don't see it, try flipping to setup and then back to assign. But now I've got a competitors list for all classes, competitors list for each individual class, and my race that I'm going to time. So I'll go ahead and time that race. And there we go. And just as a matter of verification, if I go back to the lineup monitor, my heat race is gone. My A feature is here. It is automatically updated for me. You can also see, live timing going in that screen, all that kind of stuff. So I'll give them another lap here. Checkered flag and stop. And there we go. So now when I come to results, same exact process. Click the link at the top of the screen for the upload. DNF, DNS, DQ, or black flag. Save is completed. My results are in there as well. So the one other thing that I wanted to show here, and to do that, I'm going to use the stock car class that I've got here as well, is I wanted to show what a double heat race format looks like. So I'm going to add 10 stock cars here. It's going to give me a transponder error. I don't care for transponders right now. And we'll just quick run through one of those special double heat race formats so we can kind of see what that looks like. We'll add 11 cars. Perfect. So now when I'm doing a double heat race format, it's important to note that you need to have an even number of heat races, right? So if you would normally have 2 heats for car count, you would add 4. And what I typically do is I rename these, right? Round 1, heat 1, round 2, heat 1, that kind of thing. So round 1, heat 2, and then I go round 2, heat 1, and I go round 2, heat 2. So I've got 2 rounds of heats, right? So each driver will be in each round of heats. And then I transfer from group because I'm doing passing points on that. So I go ahead and save. And now when I go to lineups, the lineup that I pick typically for this is a karting lineup. Control F, karting 468. So competitors run 2 heats. The second heat is an inversion of the first heat pill draw. So that means that we have lined up our first 2 heats based off of the pill draw and our second 2 heats as an inversion of their heat 1 counterpart, right? So if I started pole of heat 2, I now start tail end Charlie of heat 2 in the second round of heats. So karting 468 is what we're looking for. There's another one where it randomizes the order. There's a couple of ways to do this, but this is the most popular way to do it. So I'm just going to manually throw some results in. Just so I can get through that real fast. Perfect. Round 2, heat 1. So I've got results in for my heat races, right? I've got my 2 rounds of heats in. Now, to do A feature lineups, we're just going to do it based off of passing points. So there are a lot of different passing point options that you've got. They're mostly all broken down by the tiebreaker, right? So I can have the tiebreaker be the low pill draw. I can have the tiebreaker be the lowest heat number that you're in, by your qualifying time, by your season points. There's one other one by fastest lap time in heats. So you can break ties a number of different ways. There's a lot of lineups available for how you're going to break those ties. But I'm just going to do it based off the pill draw number, calculate. Then you choose your passing point scheme. I've got a ton because we use this demo profile for testing. Typically, you'll have 1 or 2. I'll just use the WISSOTA passing points here, calculate, and there's my feature lineup. So now we've done 2 rounds of heats, and we've used passing points to calculate the feature. Yeah, Linda, the option with a shift is still available. And I got that back in the heat races. But yeah, so basically what she's talking about is that your inversion spot is still where you're going to start, but it just shifts which heat race you're in. So you're racing against different people in the second round of heats. But that was a really quick look at that 2 heat race format, right? Karting 4, 6, 8 for the heat race lineup. You want to make sure you've got an even number of heat races, and then we're using passing points to line up the feature. And you know, in being cognizant of time, I know I went through that quickly, but if you're running through one of those types of formats, just be aware we've got the tools for you to be able to do it. Definitely want to help you do it. If you've got questions about it, please reach out to us. Let's see here. Did I miss anything? Points and pay. Last step of the night then. So when I go to the points and pay tab, this is another thing that you should do in advance in settings, right? There's points and pay schemes. Put in the point structures that you're going to use. Put in the pay structures that you're going to use. For WISSOTA sanctioned tracks, when you go to add a scheme, you'll choose global, and then the WISSOTA scheme is in here as well. WISSOTA national scheme. There's one for before 2024, and then there's another one which we're building now. There was a little hiccup in the build process, so it's not 100% accurate. The point totals need to change, but as soon as that's done, it'll do everything it's supposed to do. So I'll go ahead and link that up. Again, point totals need to change. Other than that, it is what it's supposed to be. So now on race night, if I do that work in advance on race night, when I add a points and pay group, all I'm doing is picking the scheme that I want to use, right? And then picking the payout scheme that I want to use. So whatever, you know, we'll say tonight's late model scheme. So point scheme, pay scheme. Remember yesterday we talked about adding multiple schedules. You can pick and choose what schedule this is a part of. Apply points to competitors or owners or both, and add. And now my points and pay are done. Again, point totals still have to be fixed. But from here, you really should be all set. Your points should be done at this point. It'll take, 30 minutes or so to update in the app once you've calculated points. But after that, it'll be there for you. It'll be there for your drivers. You have the option to add adjustments to this if need be, right? So if I, if I want to give $100 bonus for being the hard charger, I picked a weird scheme that doesn't apply a feature payouts, but that's okay. I can add $100 for the hard charger. But again, as long as your scheme is correct, you really shouldn't have to do much editing here. When we get the scheme nailed down for WISSOTA's point scheme, you should never have to do any manual editing there. That should be the way it's supposed to be. It's been like that for a few years, and as soon as we get the screws tightened on that, we should be good there. Callie?
What will it be named?
It'll probably be named WISSOTA National Scheme 2025.
I just want to make sure everybody knows that when they do see it, that's what they'll be looking for.
Yeah, 99% sure that's what that'll be named. Yep.
Okay, and I want you to show people if you have a driver that was naughty and got kicked out for the night for conduct or something. How do you not give one driver points?
So if I'm doing that, we don't want to use that one. We want to use that one. Perfect. If you've got a driver who is not eligible for points or pay for whatever reason, there is a checkbox next to each driver name in the list. So if I decided I wanted to fight an official tonight, I'm no longer eligible for points. I'm no longer eligible for pay, and I can go ahead and add. This also, when we talked about the setup tab with required registration, this is also where that would come into play. So if I'm only going to give points to drivers with a license or marked with a temp license, I can check that. I don't have any registered drivers for that event. So obviously it takes everything away from everybody. But that's how you would only apply points to your registered drivers, is using this points eligibility. But I can still manually select. And again, if you just need to do it manually for one, remove the check boxes.
We don't use that. Everybody gets points. They just don't matter. So.
Yep.
Also in the finishes, the notes.
Oh, the notes. I knew I was missing something. In the results, you have a notes option at the bottom of the screen, right? You can type whatever you want in there, new heat race record, whatever. The only place that it really comes up for national points where it's required is if you're DQing someone. Really good idea to go into the race notes and type in here why they were DQ'd so that sanctioning body is aware of what's happening.
I also get to see this. So when I'm questioning why you gave somebody points or the fact that you did not, I can see in here that Austin got DQ'd tonight for fighting, for something. I can see that. So if you do your stuff correctly on the other side and you unchecked him for points, I don't bother you. If you DQ'd him down here but gave him points, I have to find out from you why you gave him points, what happened, whatever. So if you write it down there, I know what's going on.
Yep. But there we go. We got that all done. Perfect. Last step in the process is the create payments button. Although there's one other thing that I should bring up. So for your selected schedules, if you're running an event that is not track points but does earn national points, if your event is sanctioned, there will be a second checkbox option under schedules for national points only. So again, if it's national points but not track points, check national points only. You'll be all set there. But then the last steps, create payments. This is the payments tab of season management that I said we'd come back to yesterday. This is where you can print checks, print a report for people signing for their checks, or export to QuickBooks. So if I say that the default we're paying by check, and I go to print checks, you just make sure you got the correct check layout, right? The proper format. Put in the starting check number and create. Print your checks that way. The report that I use at the back window for drivers signing for their payouts, if they're a car owner, if the payee is a car owner, the driver's name is in parentheses, gives you the amount that they were paid, the check number, I just have them sign in the white space, gives you a visual indicator as to who's claimed their money and who hasn't. You can also print mailing labels if you've got their addresses and want to mail things or mail the check to them. How do you get their addresses, you ask? Having them fill out a registration at the beginning of the season is how you would do that. And then if you need to export to QuickBooks with this button, put in the bank and expense account. It gives you a .iif file that you can import into QuickBooks Desktop, and you're all set there. Yeah. And then you can shut the lights off and go home.
The minute you do your points and pay and you save, those points come to me. You don't have to do anything else for WISSOTA. That comes to me.
Yeah. No manual sending of anything. It's all synced together. Cool. So it took the full hour, and for that I apologize. I know that was a ton of information. If you have questions about any of this, or if you're going to run some kind of special format and want, our input on how the best way to do that is, please reach out. Email support@myracepass.com.
I have my question.
Okay. Oh, yes.
This is the question for you guys tonight. Email me, Callie@wissota.org, CALLIE @wissota.org. I want your name, your track, and the date, 3/18, on it when you email me. And the question is, if a driver gets DQ'd in the results in the heat or the feature, where do you go to tell me about it? How do you tell me about that so that I understand what's happening? The driver gets DQ'd in results in the heat or the feature. Where do you go to tell me about that?
Cool. Yeah, so that's all I've got for today.
If you need help with that answer, or you don't remember, or whatever, email me. We'll chat about it.
Yes.
If for some reason you can't answer it.
But yeah, so we'll take tomorrow off. Thursday we'll come back and talk about tickets. Friday we'll talk about websites. And yeah, I just really appreciate everybody taking time out of their evening to sit through me talking for an hour. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for being a track promoter, because there are too few of you, and you're the most important cog in the wheel of dirt track racing. So thank you for that. If you got any questions, email support@myracepass.com. Until then, enjoy your evening, everybody.
I appreciate every one of you. Thank you.